What's up? I wanted to talk about this bike real quick. It's a Rogue Echo bike. A lot of people don't like it. It's a pretty hard bike to ride, and but honestly, it just takes a lot of getting used to and understanding what goes into this bike and how to get it to work to your advantage, and really how you get better other than just cranking it out harder. I was very similar to a lot of those people. It's like, hey, I just got to get on the bike and just move as fast and as hard as possible. But it wasn't until I did the Rogue Echo Bike 50 cal challenge that I really kind of dialed in and kind of looked at the numbers, the wattage, and you know, how to maintain on that bike and really build that stamina. So for starters, what we don't want to get lost in is just the calories, because typically in a workout, that's what we're striving for, is more calories. So we'll zone in on that number and just be like, man, this thing isn't moving. It's not doing anything. I gotta just crank harder, or I gotta just, you know what? I'm too tired. I'm gonna crank less. And really, if you understand the mechanics of the calories on any of the machines, it's not gonna work that way. So for me, and this is my way of running this bike and how I try to maintain on it, is I look at the wattage. And I typically, if I'm going to, let's say, anything under 12 calories, I'm upwards above 400 to 500 watts on the bike. And that's what I'm maintaining. Because I know that if I maintain that wattage for 10 or 12 calories, I can finish that in a pretty short, very short time period. And I don't want to be on this bike for long. And if you understand the rowing machine or any other machine out there, calories is power output. If I put the power in, I'm going to get off this machine quick. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to crank out as hard as I can and just be completely depleted so that I can't do my next activity. That's not the goal either. We got to be able to function afterwards. Those are my numbers. I will stay anywhere between 400 and 600 for 10 to 12 calories to get it done in a very quick amount of time, but also be able to perform right afterwards. As you know, you could probably crank something north of 1,000 watts on this bike, but that doesn't mean you're going to be able to get off of this bike and do some thrusters or some squats or lunges or whatever it is, or even run. So again, figuring out that number is going to be pretty important. Now, if we're talking a little bit longer, a little bit more calories than 10 to 12, you're going to have to find another number to kind of sit in. And what I typically tell all of my athletes in the gym is to sit north of 300. Just north or just at 300, and you can pretty much chip away at a decent rate at your calories. What I've found is that anything less than 300, you play this game of just, is it gonna move? Now, when we're looking at the mechanics of the bike and how we want it to operate most efficiently, the height is a pretty big part, and it's a piece that a lot of newer athletes just kind of ignore, because they just hop on a bike and think, I'm just gonna pedal and I just gotta pedal to finish, and that's it. But shortly after, they're like, man, I'm so tired, I didn't even do anything. And it's like, well, are you using the most out of your leg here? And what I mean by that is, this is the position that I typically sit at number 6. And that's because I don't have my leg at complete flat full extension where I'm losing some of that driving power from my hamstring, but I'm at almost full extension where I'm getting the full use of my quad and then transitioning quickly into my hamstring pull and my other leg doing some work as well. So you want to get the seat position where you're almost full extended, again, not full, but almost, in order to get the most out of your legs. Now, as far as your arms are here. They need to stay in a good moving pattern, all right, that's assisting the legs. Now, depending on the type of workout that you're doing, whether it's leg heavy or arm heavy, is going to dictate whether you're going to be using more of one than the other, all right? So you might be on the bike and it might be like a squat afterwards, so you might be using your arms a little bit more. Or you got something with pull-ups after the bike, so
So you might be using the legs a little bit more, allowing the arms just to kind of glide and move to loosen up. But something that a lot of people tend to do with the bike is just put their head down and just do this motion. Even though we're not moving straight in an aerodynamic pattern, this can be inefficient because we're doing so much more moving than we need to. When really we want to stay in this straight, very short range, efficient movement pattern. So like I was saying, we got our calories here, our distance here, but this is the number that I'm personally looking at. Some people will look at RPM and other things as well, but this is the number I'm looking at in order to get my calories. So like I was saying, I'll get it up to about that 300 line, and that's where I typically tell my athletes to sit if they want to get these calories to move in a pretty consistent manner and to look like you're actually making progress. But if I'm going to be wanting to get my 10 calories done as fast as pretty decent amount of time, I'm gonna sit above 400. You can see those numbers went from 9 to 12 a lot faster than they did before.